Do you like the metaverse? Because I like the metaverse, and I'm really excited that Virtua's Cardano Island is sponsoring this episode. Cardano Island is one of those projects I'm excited to have in our ecosystem. There are small, medium, and large plots, also condos, plans for 4 main sections, different zones and districts, fan caves to display NFTs, 6 different land resources, land bots, non-player character slots, slots for our Cardano Summit 2021 NFTs, other games, and lots more features. I bought a large plot on Cardano Island, and I can't wait to be on my land to see what this becomes. Check out cardano.virtua.com or click the link below. 78 years ago, in the classic French play No Exit, Jean-Paul Sartre wrote perhaps his most famous line, L'enfer c'est les autres. That means hell, it is the others, which is to communicate that hell is other people. Here in 2022, we now find ourselves hurtling toward a future where some might find themselves thinking that hell is the machines. I don't mean this in the Matrix or Terminator sense of the machines waging war on humans or something like that. I mean to say that it's looking like AI and machine learning will soon be able to do pretty much any human job better than any human. There may be no exit from this future. I don't know where that leaves us humans as parties to the economy, but I do know that those hyper efficient machines running the economy aren't going to wait 4 to 7 days for ACH transactions to clear. Enter crypto and the most secure and decentralized blockchain out there, Cardano. Ready? Let's go. Today, we're going to discuss being in the first phases of people really understanding the immense power of machines, Cardano now being on Robinhood, the release of Vasil test versions of Daedalus, and a new IOG article on zero knowledge proofs. If you are appalled by my horrific and mangled French, you don't have to post about it in the comments. I already know. We don't have to talk about it. You can just go ahead and consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Before we get started, I just want to express how great Virtua has been to work with over the past month. I have really appreciated their sponsorship of the channel, and they've been fantastic. Once again, Riley is hitting the nail on the head here. You might remember a couple of years ago, Elon Musk started talking about AI and machine learning and robotics on Twitter. And he would post a lot of videos, those early videos of some of the Boston Robotics robots doing crazy, the beginnings of what would eventually become like parkour stuff over obstacles. Like they're doing, little flips off boxes and doing box jumps and things like that. And Elon was always posting things like, in 2 years, you'll need a strobe light to see this robot because it'll be moving so fast. Sweet dreams. I'll never forget that tweet because as soon as he said it, I realized he was probably right. And of course, he's trying to evoke all those fears of kind of like the Terminator Matrix future where machines are like openly engaging in physical war on humans, that kind of thing. And it did seem like Elon genuinely had those kind of fears at that time. You see him post less and less about that kind of thing now. But during that same period, people would ask him, okay, so you obviously think, and he would post things like, even in the non-physical realm, he'd post things, like examples of AI playing Dota 2 and basically destroying all humans in Dota 2. And people would ask Elon questions like, okay, you obviously think machines are going to do a lot of things better than humans. What should humans do going forward? And Elon would say things like, probably creative things because anything that's susceptible to analytical skills or skills involving logic, machines are definitely going to excel at those. So maybe humans should just pursue like creative things. Unfortunately, it looks like we may have even gotten past that point already. Here, Riley is posting, there is no task that a machine will not be able to perform better than a human. I hope this is evident to people by now. So, what is he talking about here? Because what he's talking about is maybe even more disturbing than what he's saying here. When I say disturbing, for some of you, that's going to mean disturbing. And for others of you, that's going to mean exciting, because here's what we're talking about here. This post, this poster says someone entered an art competition with an AI generated piece and won the first prize. And when we come to look what they're posting, it's this. There's some, pretty dramatic looking, kind of it's almost like a combination of like a period piece and celestial bodies. But what they said was this: Hi, everyone. After a 1-month hiatus, I have returned with an exciting announcement about my personal project I've made using Midjourney. I've been exploring a special prompt that I'll be publishing at a later date. I've created hundreds of images using it, and after many weeks of fine tuning and curating my gens, I chose my top 3 and had them printed on canvas. After upscaling with Gigapixel AI, I entered into the Colorado State Fair Fine Arts Competition Digital Arts category. I won first place. Here are the results. I've set out to make a statement using Midjourney in a competitive manner, and wow, I could not be more excited about having won with my favorite piece, the Theater of Spatial Opera. Good name, because it definitely looks like a theater of spatial opera. So, if you don't know how this works, the way a lot of this type of art is getting generated is people are literally entering in text prompts. They say like, you know, create a, they don't even have to say create, but they say they'll enter prompts like people in, 1840s European dress in a theater setting looking at celestial bodies, something like that, in the style of impressionistic European artists or something like that. I'm sure the prompts he's using are much more complicated than that, but it works like that. And then you end up with all these paintings, and you can choose, you like choose one out of the 9 they offer to you, and then it'll generate more. It'll generate more paintings that are more similar to the one you chose than to the other 8 out of the 9, or the other 5 out of the 6, or whatever it is. And this type of art, we've now reached this point where this type of art is beating human artists at an event like the Colorado State Fair. We're no longer talking about computers doing math or computers beating chess masters. We're now talking about computers dominating humans in, I'm going to use this term loosely, but purely creative things. I mean, you could break this down and say, and, you can make certain conclusions about how analytically a computer would come to the conclusion that it should impose certain elements in this piece of art given the prompts. Of course, that's how it works. But I mean, traditionally, we would regard this as a purely creative activity. I mean, it's a theater of space opera, a bunch of people in a theater of space opera. This is a pretty creative activity. I mean, right now, we're just talking about images. Right now, everybody's amazed by these images that are being created by AI. But in the future, it might be CG generated videos. I mean, that's already going on to some extent. But as computer graphics, as computer generated images, video become more and more realistic, how far off are we from 2-hour long movies being created by AI that are better than anything coming out of Hollywood or any of our other traditional filmmaking, centers? How far off is that? Because the second we had computer graphics and you no longer had to employ actual actors, as soon as you didn't actually have to film humans doing stuff, we were kind of on this path that even movies made by AI will eventually be better than any movies that any humans make, because AI can already make better art. And the second you can make better painting, things that we used to call paintings, obviously there's no painting involved in this. This is digital art and the digital arts category at the Colorado State Fair. But the second that's happening, you're in a new creative realm. I think it's easy to imagine how AI might create better literature than humans at some point. I mean, we already see AI chatbots that can basically pass a Turing test against, a less informed person. Someone who, might be just chatting with a chatbot on a website with no idea that it could be a chatbot. I mean, there are cases when those humans aren't actually realizing those are chatbots already. And if bots can chat, and I'm not saying those chatbots are necessarily AI, but I am saying they're already tricking humans. But if chatbots are already tricking humans, how far, and we've got art being produced like this based on prompts, how far are we from prompts that produce literature and prompts that produce film? How about podcasts? How far off are we from some kind of a podcast based on prompts? We already know that deep fakes are no great technical feat at this point. How far off are we from the, Joe and Elizabeth Warren podcast where they say Joe and Elizabeth Warren, but there's romantic tension? How about the Joe versus Joe podcast? Joe Rogan and Joe Biden, only they both love haikus, or whatever. Joe Rogan and Bernie Sanders, and all they want to talk about is the combat sports match they just had with each other. I think all these things are pretty much already possible. The question is, now that this barrier is gone, the creative barrier, what jobs are going to be left for humans? I think Riley is probably right. We're a much shorter number of years than is comfortable from this point, where we're already kind of on the path that there is no job that a computer is not going to be doing better than a human. I think that point is not very far off at this point. The only silver lining I can identify here, and we can come up with ways to mitigate this. We can talk all day about universal basic income and why that might be good or bad, but we mainly talk about crypto here. So the silver lining I can come up with for this is that if all of these jobs are being done by machines, a machine-run, machine-led economy like that is not going to be very compatible with the traditional finance system. I mean, it could be. You could make it compatible. You could make this. I mean, this would be a very hyper-efficient economy. If you can produce digital art like this in, 5 minutes, I think we've all seen the videos where somebody makes something like this in less than 5 minutes, really, like 1 minute or something like that. If you can make art like this in 1 minute, a lot of other tasks are going to be hyper efficient like this. In a hyper efficient economy like that, you're going to need a hyper efficient accounting, an accounting of all of the labors of these machines, all the assets produced by those labors. The accounting layer for this hyper efficient machine economy is going to have to be crypto. And we could debate about whether or not that's going to be CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, or true public cryptos like Cardano. But I think the people who own the machines that are producing all this labor in this machine-led economy, I believe they're going to choose a decentralized economy, because they're not going to want a decentralized accounting layer. They're not going to want a centralized accounting layer, because in this machine-led economy, the people who own those machines, they're going to be reaping in way too much of the products of the economy, and they're going to want to avoid rent-seeking behaviors from any centralized power that might control the accounting layer. I think they're going to gravitate even more strongly toward a decentralized accounting layer, a decentralized ledger, a decentralized money. And right now, Cardano is the most decentralized. I don't know how far off this future is. I don't know if I like this future, but I think there may be no exit from this future. And I think the money of this future is going to be crypto. And right now, Cardano is in the lead as far as the things that I think will matter in that economy. And those things are security, first of all, and decentralization. Scalability, of course, but I think decentralization and security will be even more important because the actors controlling a lot of the machines creating a lot of machines producing the labor in this kind of an economy, they're going to want to avoid any other centralized power that can engage in rent seeking behaviors against the products of those labors. Of course, that's kind of the glass half full perspective on this machine led economy, that a small group of people, small group of elites own all the machines, all the AI, all the machine learning, producing all of these labors in the economy. Of course, what I'm actually hoping for is that crypto, through something, who knows, maybe Singularity Net, something like that, democratizes the ownership of all of these machines in this machine-led economy. That's of course what I actually hope for. But I think even if we don't achieve that, even if it's the darker, slightly dystopian version, I think even in that scenario, crypto has to be the money of that economy. And I think Cardano, because it's the most secure, most decentralized, is in the lead. Today might actually be your day. If you've been running around thinking to yourself, I love it when I do securities transactions on Robinhood and they sell off my transaction data to someone so that that someone can front run my transactions and, maybe even make it more expensive for me to make that transaction, even though as the end user, the impression I get is that my transactions are free and that's great. If that's what you've been thinking to yourself, but you've been thinking, I just wish I could do that with crypto as well and not just with securities, then today is your day. Robinhood says, you asked. Cardano is now on Robinhood. I'll let you be the judge of how good or bad Robinhood's business model is. But whether anybody likes it or not, I think actually a lot of people will probably like it. Cardano is now on Robinhood. You'll remember not too long ago, we looked at an IOG dashboard of downstream components and the status of their being integrated with the Vasil upgrade. And there wasn't quite as much news on Daedalus as some of us expected. That's changing now. IOG posted today, we're releasing new test versions of Daedalus as part of the final mile toward the Vasil upgrade. Preview 5.0.0 and pre-production 5.0.0. You'll remember those are two different test nets leading up to Vasil. Are test-only versions of the Daedalus wallet for devs and SPOs working in the preview and pre-production testing environments. And check this out. They have two different colored logos for each of these test versions. I personally think the Daedalus logo might be one of the best wallet logos in the business. It's like a bowl, and he's even got the ring in his nose, but it's also a maze inside of his skull and everywhere else. This has always been a really good logo. Good job, IOG. Finally, we've been talking a lot about zero knowledge proofs lately. IOG just dropped this great article, and the title of the article makes it seem a lot more specific than I think it has to be for the reader. The title of the article is ZK Snarks Updatable Setups on the Blockchain, with a subtitle of ZK Snarks have proven to be a Swiss Army knife for blockchain and distributed ledgers with applications in privacy, interoperability, and scalability. But when you come down to the actual article, it's actually very accessible and a good general rundown of a lot of the things we've talked about on this channel recently. They have a full rundown of different types of zero knowledge proofs. They tell you all about non-interactive zero knowledge arguments. They tell you about succinct non-interactive zero knowledge arguments. They tell you about succinct non-interactive zero knowledge arguments of knowledge. These are the snarks we've talked about in the past, and succinct transparent arguments of knowledge, starks. And you'll remember we talked about the difference between these two involving a trusted setup or not. And then they go on to tell you all about the use cases for zero knowledge proofs. This is a great general article. If you want to know enough about zero knowledge proofs in crypto to be super, I was about to say super fun at a cocktail party, but that's probably only for crypto people. So for normal people, like super not fun. If you want to be super not fun at a cocktail party involving non-crypto people, just read this article and it'll give you lots of things, lots of detail that you can bore your non-crypto friends to death with, or delight anyone who knows a decent amount about crypto. I hope you had a great week. I hope you're going to do something fun this weekend. Once again, I'm going to try to get out and enjoy the nice weather. I hope it's nice weather in your neck of the woods as well. And I'll talk to you soon.